You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 25 on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton or simply just Anton, and on today's episode, KMUSICEVERYDAY, KME, joins me on a complete album discussion on For Only by Lehigh. Lehigh and her story as an artist hold a special place in my heart. Her music has deeply resonated with me for a number of years, and I really wanted to celebrate this release with care and attention. KME and I do a track-by-track deep dive, discussing themes, history, the technical elements of the music, and the story Lehigh so beautifully tells in For Only. Shout out to KME for going along on this ride. This conversation meant a lot to me, and I'm thrilled to share it with you all. Quick addition, I missed 2 actor credits for the music video only. Shout out to Nam Yoon-gro and Moon-suk playing the older characters and their beautiful expression of the timelessness of love. Coming up, my chat with KMUSICEVERYDAY on For Only by Lehigh on the Soju Sessions. Soju Sessions this week to discuss Lehigh's brand new album, For Only. Someone who I value his hip-hop and R&B experience and knowledge, his ability to make music very much, and someone who I've had deep conversations about a number of things, whether it's music, whether it's life, whether it's, the people that make our life the way it is. The one and only, a California West Coast person as well, KMUSICEVERYDAY, KME. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. With your extensive knowledge of hip hop and R&B, and all the things we've talked about in the past, I really wanted you to be on the show to kind of talk a little bit further about, Lehigh, what she's been up to, and the fact that she is with AOMG now. People who've grown up with her, people who have seen her music over the past decade now, it's kind of crazy to think it's been so long, have seen her very much be in the pop world of K-pop, right? With a lot of R&B and sultry influence. But now she's at the AOMG. She's got a lot of creative input on what she wants to do with music. Take me through what you know of AOMG, them as a company, their background, and kind of like notable artists that people should look out for if they want kind of a sample of what they're about.
Right. So I'll start with like my first experience with AOMG, and it's actually pretty important to my Korean music journey because actually they're one of the first labels, and their artists are my kind of jumping off point. And like my first experience with really like Korean hip hop and R&B. So I got into like K-pop and all that stuff like around 2014, and that was actually because I went to visit my sister in Korea. And so when I was over there, that's obviously how I got exposed to K-pop. And I remember around that time is when J Park released like a single, and it was called So Good, and it was produced by like Cha and Cha Malone, his longtime kind of partner and producer and friend. And it had this kind of like, it was like a kind of a Michael Jackson type groovy R&B song. And so I was like, I really dug it. I was like, oh man, this is dope. Like, who is this J Park guy? And what is AOMG? Because I had it plastered all over the music video. And so really, after coming back and I was kind of getting deeper into K-pop and Korean music in general, they're one of the first like labels like hip hop labels I got into, and honestly, one of the first Korean rappers I actually kind of was a fan of was Loco, and he had I think recently signed to AOMG at that point, and he had put out his first EP, Locomotive. And I remember when that song his first single had featuring Jay Park. Think it was called like "Thinking About You" or something like that. Um, I was just stuck on that song, and so that I always credit Loco and that song as like my first kind of um, intro to Korean hip hop, or like when people ask like what was the first like Korean hip hop artist you listened to, I always say Loco in that song. Um, so in that aspect, AMG plays a pretty important part. I guess getting into the history a little bit, just briefly with AMG. Um, Obviously, it was started by Jay Park, I think in 2013. And the funny thing with that is, I think, obviously everyone knows about his 2 p.m. kind of thing. And once he left 2 p.m. and JYP and he came back to the States, he wanted to do music again. So I guess he went back to Korea. And from one cool story I know is that he wanted to join Illionaire Records. Do you know Illionaire Records?
Um, I'm not too familiar, but good. Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Illionaire Records is like one of the uh, kind of legendary Korean hip hop labels,
All right.
and it was started by The Quiet and Doki. So I'm sure a lot of people know Doki. The Quiet has kind of been like in the hip hop game since way in the early days. So they started this label, and Jay Park is actually good friends with them. And they started that label I think in 2011. It was just The Quiet and Doki, and they eventually added Benzino. So they're kind of just like really cool. They were on the forefront of like the real like baller swag kind of hip hop era in the early 2010s. And Jay Park actually wanted to join their label because he was kind of like, oh, I want to do more hip hop R&B stuff. But I believe that Quiet and Doki were like, yeah, we would like you to, but they actually denied him and said that they didn't want his prior fame and success to kind of attribute to like the success of Illionaire. So they were like, we want this to kind of succeed without you, I guess. Kind of like, not in a, I guess, pejorative way, just kind of like, we want to kind of build something on our own. So I guess that's when he said, okay, well, I'll start my own label. And that's when he started AOMG. And then I believe Gray was one of the first artists, and I think a couple of producers, and Cha Cha Malone were some of the earlier artists. And then eventually, like Loco, he signed and all that. But I just really love that story that he was really trying to break back into the kind of like legit Korean hip hop scene, and they were kind of like, well, nah. And they had their misgiving, their kind of hesitations, and so he just said, "No, what? I'm gonna start my own." And now look at AMG. Now they're like one of the biggest kind of hip hop labels and music labels in general in Korea. And I think I just really love that story. It's really dope. I hope I got it correct. Maybe Warren can addendum later if I got any details wrong, but that's what I remember hearing from like the Quiet in an interview once.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting that he, like, Jay Park started his own label after wanting to seek out like hip hop and like get into the scene with established people, right? Because they kind of saw him as, the K-pop guy, the Korean American kid coming back to try to like do something in this genre. And it was really just a proving ground for him that he needed to start his own label, do his own thing. And it turns out like, yeah, he can do it. And he was able to attract so many very talented artists within that genre. Yeah, no, I really appreciated you're able to like synthesize all of that and give it a brief little history, because I know for me, I recognize AOMG as far as Jay Park and his story as far as being from Seattle. But aside from that, like the details of how a lot of this stuff is put together is still lost on me, just because it's not very visible, right? As far as like what hip hop is and how people consume it. I think it's still very different from K-pop itself in that sense. But with the number of artists they're getting and the way that they're promoting now, yeah, I think it's definitely there to rival at least the popularity of a lot of K-pop. And I think Lee Hi is a great bridge for that. With her popularity, like I mentioned earlier, through YG, now doing her own thing, now doing it under AOMG. I think it's just a really nice familiarity for a lot of people to see her being successful and hopefully to kind of explore AOMG a little bit further. Throughout her promotions for For Only, she's doing everything. All the variety, all the performances, all the stages. She released a Killing Voice video under Dingo earlier this week. Man, if you need a primer on Lehigh, her history as a vocalist, blending the old and the new, watch that video. It's 20 minutes. It's a great medley of all of her old songs with some of her new songs, not necessarily in a timeline of when they released, but almost telling a narrative of what each song meant to her at different points in her life. And obviously it's the killing part of every song, so it's just the fire verses. Shout out to her for rapping a lot of the collaborations that she's been on that medley. She can rap. If you're following any of her stages right now, she raps. If her cameo isn't there with her, she's rapping it, and it's flames. I just wanted to give a quick shout out there before we get into the album For Only by Lehigh. It's here, everyone. We've got it. Lehigh to me is someone very special as far as a musician. I don't know. There's just something about the way that she emotionally connects to her music, whether that was with YG or stuff on her own the past few years, and how she's able to kind of reflect and tell a story without being too heavy-handed in any one direction. She with For Only, kind of the timeline of releases is the on August 27th she released a pre-release with Only, and then on September 3rd, Savior, and then we got the title track on September 9th with Red Lipstick. But let's kind of start at the top. Let's start with the first song, the number one track on For Only. We've got Savior featuring B.I., lyrics by B.I., music by B.I., Staley, Basecamp, an arrangement by Staley or Stolly, I'm not so sure how to pronounce that, and Basecamp. All right, KME. So, we got this music video a few weeks ago. They did talk about it on the main show a bit, but take me through your thoughts. What did you initially think about the song, and how is it hitting you now?
When this one came out, I really enjoyed it. I kind of agreed with, I want to say with the crew kind of mentioned that B.I.'s kind of feature was a little kind of, I guess, unnecessary. But it was fine. It's good. But I like the overall vibe. That kind of the thing I love about Lehigh is that she seems to know very much what her kind of the lane of sound and style that she really thrives in, and kind of goes full force into that. And I think this song is definitely a prime example of that. I really like the music video. The music video is really cool, and like the little story they tell, and with her and like that kind of like CGI church thing or whatever it is. But I really like that. But yeah, this one was okay. It was good. It was a good kind of. I'm glad they did it as a pre-release. Same thing with the other track that they did, because it was kind of like, okay, cool. Like this is kind of Lehigh in her element, kind of what she's known for, that kind of sultry R&B, a little bit popish. And it was cool to see her work with B.I., former label mate and stuff that actually has also left YG since then as well. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely gives coffee shop vibes, right? The crew did mention that this may be a little too mellow for something to be promoted, but like you said, it was a pre-release. It did set the table for kind of what we were expecting as far as Lehigh's style and vocal ability, and definitely the writing ability. I think that's what stood out a lot, especially me going back into it, reading the translations, but being kind of enthralled by the story that they were weaving. I think the translation for the chorus is, "My Savior did the one above send you to me. I had a dream with you in my arms. I could tell from the moment I met you that you are the savior that has come to ruin me. So a lot of conflicting feelings about love and kind of running parallel to the story that's happening in the music video. Was there any imagery that really stood out to you that helped kind of tell the story or kind of resonate with the idea of seeing love from a child's point of view and then kind of seeing that played out again when they were older?
Um, I think this is for the savior, right?
Saber, yes.
Yeah. Okay. The one part that really stuck out to me in terms of like the overall narrative was I love the end when they're kind of sitting at the table and facing each other, and I think she's like getting rained on or something, and so he comes and he kind of brings her an umbrella to kind of protect her, and her nose is bleeding, so he kind of like gets a little bit of like whatever red stuff like wine or something in there, and he puts it on his nose to kind of make her feel better and kind of feel safe and comfortable, and then she starts busting up laughing. I think that was really right at the end. That I really love that because it was kind of it really plays to that that savior kind of her feeling, someone giving her kind of a feeling of comfort and protection.
Yeah, no, it's one of those themes that I do feel like is threaded throughout the entire album. Finding comfort, being protected in a way, saved, but also events happening at different points in your life. Because in the music video, we do see the kids being rained on, and then the umbrella being used, and then in the music video at the church, it's indoors, so you kind of have to take a little bit of fantasy elements into the parallelism, but they're both rained on indoors, and then Bi walks over and provides the umbrella, like you said. So a lot of symbolism as far as being protected, looking to someone for that support. With a little bit of the music inspiration with this song, kind of the rich vocals and the jazziness of it. And we did mention Bi, and it didn't fit too well, but in your opinion, do you feel like that contrast did kind of work, or if it didn't work, what did you think about that contrast overall between it being Lehigh being quite mellow and then Bi's rap being a bit aggressive?
I guess yeah. I guess that's a cool kind of contrast they did. Um, Maybe him kind of being that confident kind of when she's kind of mellow and maybe a little unsure, that he kind of comes in and does this kind of really confident kind of rap. But I mean, I that's always kind of been Bi's style, so I think that's just kind of how he is. But I feel like she obviously decided to have him on this this record for a specific purpose. And I'm not too sure exactly what that could mean. Maybe you can give more insight. I don't know. But yeah, it's just when it comes to the feature, it's kind of it's one of those two that's also it's right at the end of the track, which I'm sure serves a purpose as well. But it just almost kind of feels also like tacked on a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know if I have too much else to say about it.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I agree. I think it did feel a little sudden when I first heard it, but I think if we're looking at it as a narrative, it does kind of play into the part of when someone comes into your life as a surprise, right? And I think that's what it's
Right.
playing a little bit more into. Again, it is a pre-release. It is kind of like the table setter for the album, which gives off a vibe of like introspection and kind of looking into your past, seeing how that's reflected into your present and who you're with, who you're around. So I think it may be a little funky, but I think ultimately it kind of works with the entire album. I think it's kind of where I land with it.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So let's move on now to track number 2. Again, I think this kind of falls into the introspection introduction of the album and her story. So we have Intentions, kind of an acoustic, bluesy song. Kami, what did you think about them kind of being a little bit more minimalist with some of the sound choices, and then having that acoustic, you know, backdrop throughout the entire song?
Right. So with this one, I believe it's produced by An Shinhei. Shinhei. I'm not familiar with that producer, but I think um, with this track, it's 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 something that Lehigh really shines on, and she's done that in her past music as well. Kind of just doing her thing over a acoustic guitar or acoustic piano, and I think it's a really good way to kind of highlight the power of her vocals. And yeah, I think that's usually the purpose of those kind of acoustic things, just kind of play a stripped down, um, kind of background, and just let the vocals and lyrics shine through. This one, I remember, it's it's a fine song. I don't really remember it too much, but I do remember enjoying it. But it's kind of like it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, this is like Lehigh doing her thing in the past, so it's cool.
Nice. Oh yeah, so to get the credits, forgot to mention that at the top. So we have lyrics by An Shinhei. Um, that person wrote Holo, so that is
Oh,
the
okay,
credit. Yeah, so that's a
that
really
makes
big
sense.
credit for them. Music also by An Shinhei, and arrangement by An Shinhei, Shin A, and Lehigh. So she was definitely involved in this song as well. Yes, I definitely agree with a lot of your thoughts about this song kind of being, you know, kind of a mellow bridge. You know, kind of letting her vocals, you know, be the center and like forefront of what your experience is. Kind of going into the lyrics a little bit. You know, the intentions of men is kind of the theme throughout this song. You know, being confused by the situation, complexities of emotions, and really trying to like parse out like what it means to be in love. Is this person right for me? Is this person just confusing? Are we wrong for each other? You know, things that are emotional and confusing and fatiguing. So
Hmm.
I think with that in mind, letting her vocals and letting her kind of be more present in the song does make sense, because it's really her just telling that story, kind of like at a campfire. You know, kind of like, you know, with the guitar kind of playing, and then let her, you know, letting out all her feelings about, you know, maybe I should just move on from the situation.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to close on this song before we move on?
No, I think we're good.
Nice. All right, so we got a little bit of a flip here, kind of a switch up. So, you know, the energy starts to pick up at this point in the album. Track number 3, we have Waterride, lyrics by An Shinhei, music by An Shinhei, and arrangement by Bronze. This one feels a little bit more experimental. You know, I think it's definitely picks up the energy. The hook is quite memorable. Even though I cannot speak Korean or understand Korean, man, I can just like hear like how it plays out with the Hajima Hajima Hajima. Um, Kami, how did this song hit you, and the fact that it was such a switch up from the first two songs?
Right. So yeah, this is like the one of the first tracks I really loved on this album. When I first listened to it, because like I said, with the first two, it's like, okay, cool. This is it kind of felt like, oh, this is more okay, cool. This is Lehigh in her zone doing her thing. And then when this hit, I was like, oh damn. Yeah, like you said with that Hajima part, that's really like a earwormy kind of chorus, and that kind of I don't know what it is, like a R&B soul, like uh, big band kind of dance, like I don't know what you call that style, but it's I want to talk about the producers because that's produced by Bronze, and he's actually a producer from the label 8 Ball Town, which is actually kind of looked upon as a sister label kind of to AOMG. They work a lot with each other, and like that's where Davita came from. She was originally signed to 8 Ball Town, and they do a lot of like they kind of have a retro 80s 90s vibe. So that label is headed by a rapper named Kitten, and he's been around for like a decade as well. But Bronze is one of their really dope producers. He's like actually one of my favorite. Um, if you may know him from his two albums, East Shore and Aquarium, that came out really 2019 and last year. They're like super city pop heavy albums. Um, so that's kind of like his bag is like retro city pop 80s stuff, and he actually just came out with the EP the other day on the 15th, I think, or yesterday. It was called Millennium, and um, it's kind of like early 2000s hip hop and pop music. So he really gets into that zone. So when I heard this, I was expecting maybe like a city pop type track, and then when I heard it, and then it was that kind of like I don't know what do you call that style.
I have it
Kind of
kind
like
of like a like a bass, like retro, almost like swing, like 1920s, like Roaring Twenties.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what swing, like a swing type beat. Yeah, that's exactly that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, wow, this is really different because I'm usually used to like city pop and like kind of like 80s dance music kind of vibe from him. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, this is a cool departure in sound for both Lehigh and producer Bronze. And he shows up a little bit later in the album as well. But I think this was one of the first track on the album that kind of really raised my eyebrows, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the direction we're gonna go into.
Yeah, no, you said a lot of amazing things about like Bronze. So I'm not familiar with Bronze. I love City Pop. I think you put a few of his songs, if I'm not mistaken, on your City Pop playlist.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a lot on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like go into it a little bit more and really pay attention to like who the producers are and the artists because yeah, it's this song is quite a departure from city pop, but there are some elements to it where there's some rhythmic elements, a lot of energy, and a lot of power that I feel like is a lot of foundational pieces that could definitely swing between both genres. I kind of wanted to go into a little bit more of like Lehigh and her power and her vocals. Um, just in your opinion, like how do you feel like that meshed well with Bronze? I mean, this song is such a departure from the first two songs in that she really goes for it. She goes hard, right? And with what you know about Bronze, how do you feel like they were able to kind of come to that middle ground of like, all right, this is kind of the sound we want to go for with that swing music, but also a very broad range in her vocals.
Um, yeah, that's a cool kind of coupling between them two because I honestly I when I saw Bronze on the on the track credits, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like I don't see him making something that would be for Lehigh, because he makes a lot of stuff for like he's worked with like Yukika and Hoodie and all those a lot of like more R&B ish or like those type of artists. Um, so when I saw that, but I think it really worked to me, and the fact that the song's called Waterride, it sounds like it really kind of brings that out. Like it sounds like you're on a fun kind of water ride that's going up and down and and in circles and all that stuff. So I really like the mesh up of that and them kind of both maybe getting out of their normal comfort zone of what they normally do, and um, it obviously it really worked for me in terms of sound.
Yeah, I love what you said about getting out of your comfort zone because I think this song is the one that's the most different from what I know about Lehigh, where she really plays into like the theatrics of like the song composition, the lyrics, and the melody. I think those are all like really cool elements that I don't think I've heard before from her from this song. So,
Hmm.
really cool, like really cool direction. Wow, my brain just stopped there for a second. um, with regards to the theming, so we do open with a little bit more introspection into romance, and now this song picks up. It's about empowerment and taking control, taking back agency into your situation, whatever the situation that is. In this case, it's romance and kind of the blurred truths of being in a relationship and kind of deciding what to do next, which leads perfectly into track number 4 with Bye. Lyrics by Lehigh, music by Lehigh, Gray, and Dax, arrangement by Gray and Dax. I'm gonna let you start. Those are very well-known people. What did you think seeing those names on the track list, and what did you think about the song?
So, I'm not familiar with Dax. Or maybe you can. Do you know much about him?
Only from what I recently read, so which is not very like in depth. But Gray definitely is the one that like pops off, and I think
Right.
his tag is at the beginning of the song, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the kind of thing. So I'm not familiar with Dax, but Gray obviously is like, he's the original kind of AOMG artist. He's the kind of the first artist they signed, and he's been with the company since the beginning. So, but this beat is definitely exactly in his bag. Like, he is definitely doing what his style is, that kind of disco R&B style. And this is, I have to say, is actually one of my three favorite, like, ultimate favorite songs on this album. Um, I think it's really great, that kind of yeah, like the disco R&B groove. With the next track we'll talk about with Red Lipstick, that one kind of goes full force into that disco, fun sound. This one's a little bit more subdued and a little more groovy, and I really love. This is like when I first heard this one, I was like, oh, okay, like this is my jam on this album right here.
I
But
could I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly, it just this
right.
one popped off. Again, I agree. One of my top three favorite songs of the album. Yeah, you were gonna say something else. Go ahead. Sorry, Kami.
No, no, I already forgot.
Yeah, yeah. This song has me super excited just because, like you said, the disco R&B, amazing blend of genres. Lyrically, I didn't understand most of it, of course, on first listen, except for the bye, my love. Going into it, it's definitely about that realization of selfish love and the end of a life cycle. And it's just kind of amazing, like, storytelling of, you know, I'm good with this. I'm good that I need to say goodbye to you. You need to be good with this. It's over. You gotta chill. You gotta separate. And it's all done in a very calm way, paired with the music. Like you said, it is disco. It is up as far as like the energy, but with the way that her vocals kind of swing between kind of lower register and then like falsetto, a lot of really cool elements with the way she's able to flex there. Um, you mentioned kind of Gray and this being in his bag. What are the elements that listeners should look out for as far as this song to really give you a good sense of Gray?
I think just the overall vibe. Gray is a really great producer, in that he's one of those that he can bounce around a lot of genres and sounds, but it always sounds like in his style, that kind of lighthearted, kind of groovy, uh, little bit of strings and stuff like that in there. But yeah, it's just one of those ones where it's like, oh, you hear the Gray, and then like the sound after, just like, okay, you're already ready. Um, that's one thing I love about Gray, is that he's able to kind of bounce around. Like, he can make a disco groovy track like this. He can make a really like sexy R&B song, and then he can make something like J Park's Mome, like something like a really heavy trap beat, like the 119 remix that he did for Show Me the Money. So he's very versatile, and that's the thing I love about him. But there's always an element, or a kind of lingering, like I said, vibe or kind of sound that you just kind of, when you hear it, you're like, okay, like, it makes sense. Like, even if you don't know it at first, like, this sounds familiar, and then you hear, oh, it's produced by Gray. I was like, oh, okay, that definitely makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, there's a familiarity with a lot of his, I guess, like the fundamental nature of like his music, right? Where like you get the sense of who he is. But I think the versatility is what surprises me most about Gray, because there's oftentimes I'm just like, oh, this is Gray. What?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and kind of flips into a different genre, but then like you get the familiarity, like you said. All right, let's move into track number 5. So this is the title track. It's got a music video to it. We've got Red Lipstick featuring Yoon Mirei. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So we got lyrics by Lehigh, Chancellor, and Yoonmirae. Music by Lehigh, Chancellor, Purple Kakuna. An arrangement by Chancellor and Purple Kakuna. I cut that off. All right. So this one leans right into the disco retro, vibes, like even more so, even more pop. This is the lead track. It's got an MV. Kimmy, what did you think? How'd you feel? Also relative to Bye, like what did you think about those two songs kind of playing into each other?
Oh, I love this song. This is like I said, it's buys more of my kind of style, like the little bit of a turned down groove. But this one, I love that it went full into the like disco kind of dancey stuff, and just watching the video, it's so fun. Like I think that's the part about this song that shines for me is that music video with um like basically all the AOMG guys in there, and they're all dancing in the elevator and kind of like intimidated by her. But and then obviously you have Yoonmirae, who's like one of the most legendary female rappers in the Korean scene, Korean hip hop scene. Of course, wife to Tiger J.K. And I think her feature on this is actually perfect because when she features on the way the chorus breaks down, is really reminiscent. If you listen to a song, I think it's called like Caution or Danger or something like that, and it's by a duo group that was Yoonmirae was in. It's called Tashani. Back in like '99, it came out, and if you hear those two songs together, they sound like almost identical. So having her on this track is definitely perfect, and it's kind of cool to see that the kind of Yoonmirae as the kind of who has always been historically the top female hip hop and R&B artist. She also sings, so, and then having Lehigh here, kind of one of the new age one of the new age pop stars in the R&B and hip hop world, and to see them work together was awesome. And Chancellor, I'm not sure about Purple or the other producer, but and writer. But Chancellor is definitely one of those also legendary like R&B artists. He's been around for as long as I've been into the Korean music scene, and he does a lot. He just signed to a new label. I can't remember, but he used to be on Million Market, which is a sub label of SM. And he's done stuff with like Giselle and yeah, he's just one of those. He had a really big what's it called? Like the Automatic remix which going back to the Killing Voice, which was the funny part because Lehigh gets in those lyrics a little freaky, but she for some reason censored it in the Killing Voice. I'm not sure why, but that part was funny. I'm not sure if that was probably like a production choice out of her control, but yeah, that Automatic remix was I was like, I actually made that my song of the year last year for KMUSICEVERYDAY, just because it had every kind of big R&B singer and artist on that track, and it was like a 20-minute track. And that was originally his song with BB and Giselle and Moon, and I think not Bumkey, I can't remember the guys. I think 12 maybe might have been on it, but that just shows like the women totally outshined the guys on that track, because I don't really even remember the original lineup. But yeah, Chancellor is definitely one of those. He does the same thing where he can make like he does well with those really deep R&B kind of sexy songs, but he can make something like really groovy and kind of disco like this. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. So I really love the whole connection here and collaboration with all the artists involved, and I think it works really well. And then the music video, I just love it. Pulls everything together. It looks like everyone having fun, and really cool to see some of those like famous 1 million dance crew dancers in there and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts. But I really love this song. It's a really good title track to have for the album.
Yeah, no, you went right into it. I loved everything you said. I'm gonna try to go back into a couple of things that you mentioned. I feel like this placement right here in the middle of the album, track number 5, perfect spot, because we're going right into from Waterride into this song, perfect pop song, and it blends the theme of old and the new that we were kind of going with, right? Kind of this nostalgia, this retro, right into who these people are today, living in the present moment, right? I loved all the things you said about Yoonmirae and Chancellor, about how they are like the OGs, right? But the OGs recognizing these really talented people, these really talented musicians, and elevating them. Like definitely, there's some collaborations where either the collab doesn't work because someone's overshadowing the other person, or the other person kind of falls in the background, or you don't really get a good sense of the distinction between the two roles. This one, there's such a seamless blend with like how her raps come in and out of the song that I'm lost for words with that one. Yeah, no, and I also appreciated that you were able to kind of go into kind of the detail and the history about kind of all the things leading up into the way that the song looks and feels. We're definitely getting the 90s retro. As far as the music video and production, I immediately noticed the 4:3 aspect ratio and the graphics that you're watching on a VHS player, and the coloring where it's like sepia. It just all works for me.
Right. Yeah, it definitely like kind of calls back to like my childhood and watching like MTV and like VH1 music video nights and stuff like that. Like the part where she's like in the room and it's kind of like a little fish-eyed out, and yeah, the colors, and it's just I really love that. This is like one of my favorite music videos. Right next to the next song we'll talk about as well, but this is I really love this one. It's kind of like man, when I heard this I was like, oh yeah, this is what I've been waiting for from Lehigh, like something really fun and kind of she's really good at those ballady or like kind of like really soul R&B type joints, but this one, to see her like kind of let loose and have fun on this one, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, and also the way that the presentation of this music video and the stages have been really to highlight her and focus her, right? Like you said, she is with a lot of her friends. It's an AOMG party, but a lot of the sets are really simple and yet give a central focus of where your eye is going to be at. So everything from the party in the bedroom to the various elevators. I think those are just really cool shots. The elevator that's the elevator that's a little bit long, right? With a little bit of depth.
Right.
And there's some B-roll at the end of the video where Lehigh is like cringing at Jay Park, his dance moves.
He has a see-through like sheer shirt and
yeah. Oh man, that fit. I don't know, man, but you're killing it. Yeah, all the homies are all there. And I did like also the disco elevator, the transparent one.
Right. Yeah, I love that one. I was just about to say too, like shout out to Loco, and he's like rocking this. I don't know what it is, but he got these Gucci cowboy boots on, and he's just he's just dancing around. It shows out in that like clear elevator scene, and he's in there with Jay Park, and I was like, damn, those are funny looking ass boots, but I really dig them.
Yeah, man, it's just again, like the styling, it's new and the old, right? Or it's like you have these like very modern brands, but then it's like what era is this? What year are we in?
Yeah,
man. To kind of go off a little bit on the stage performance, and kind of like you said, like you're just happy to see Lehigh get something energetic, something pop friendly, to kind of like show off a little bit of fun. These stages, she's having fun. She's got choreo. She's with the backup dancers. They're set up really well. A lot of the outfits are pulled from the music video. Excellent outfits. Yeah, if you haven't seen the stages, just search them up on YouTube, whether that's the show, NBC, or Inkigayo. They've all popped off last week for the comeback stages. So yeah. Okay, any closing thoughts on this song before we move on to the next music video?
I think just that, like you said, reiterating that it was cool to see her shine, and especially for the song to be on like music shows and stuff. I think that's really cool, and I think that's a really cool thing for AOMG as well. Um, Specifically, I think because they straddle this line between the mainstream and the maybe maintaining a like underground hip hop kind of credibility. But I really love that Jay Park and the company has moved towards diversifying the label a little bit. Um, Before it was just mainly rappers, and then they started adding some more R&B artists like Hoodie and Elo and and like that, and Davida now, and obviously Lehigh. But Lehigh specifically, and with the recent signing of Yugam from Got7 as well, um, they caught a lot of flack from like the hip hop scene, as if they're kind of going into a like, oh, like look at them, they want to be K-pop stars or whatever. But I think it really helps balance out the the label, I think, and it's really cool to have like that aspect of the label where you can have a Lehigh or a Yugam that can be on music shows right next to K-pop artists like Red Velvet and Stray Kids or whatever. So I think that's really dope, and I think it's a really cool and healthy thing for the overall hip hop R&B scene in Korea, and just the pop scene in general, because it kind of opens the door to each other a little bit more, and kind of allows a little bit of crossover into the other worlds. And I've seen a lot of people that are like, oh, like who is, like, especially with this song, like, oh, maybe they love Lehigh and they've seen her on music shows, like, oh, okay, cool, who's this Yoonmirae? And then they go into that and they can see the history of like, okay, Yoonmirae is like one of the most legendary and like big original female rappers that have come out of Korea, and so I love that kind of thing that's happening. So a lot of people in the hip hop scene kind of see it as a negative that they're going a little bit more in the pop direction, but I really enjoy that about the aspect of the label. And then Lehigh's just kind of like a shining example of that, because she can work with like a producer like Code Kunst, and who's very much a staple in the hip hop industry right now, and then perform like one of those songs on a music show that's full of K-pop artists. So I love that kind of transition that this song kind of represents a lot for me.
Excellently said, Cammy. That was perfect. Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing message to see kind of the culmination of essentially a lot of different fandoms and brands and perspectives with music, and it's really awesome that it's all coming together in a way that is accessible to so many people. And then everything, like you said, I echo it all. I think we're all just better having this style of music, this brand, this feel, be more present, be more polished, be more accepted. And yeah, no, that was all beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, let's move on now to track number 6. We got head, you got some shoulders, you got some knees, you got some toes. H.S.K.T featuring Wonstein. Lyrics by Lehigh and Wonstein. Music by PJ, Lehigh, Wonstein, and arrangement by PJ. All right, this song, this is a vibe, man. All right, so we go into kind of the energy of the middle section of the album, and now kind of not even easing. I think we just jump right into a vibe section. The H.S.K.T is a reference to head, shoulders, knees, and toes. A kid's rhyme, but then she recontextualizes it into this very cool, very vibey, kind of sultry, sensual, use in kind of flirtatious romance. It's accompanied by a music video that I feel like is a setting of the 2000s. I mean, the Razor flip phone. For me, it's like, yeah, I lived through that. Shout out to the Sergeant Frog sticker, Kara Gunzo. If you guys know that anime, check it out. It's really funny. And yeah, it's just them like kind of texting underneath the table and kind of figuring things out. And it's just, it's there's a lot of vibiness to it. I don't even know. I keep saying that word, but the smooth rap paired with her vocals, paired with the mellow nature of the song and kind of the metaphors they're playing with, kind of all give an essence of like new love and new romance. And just really cool to kind of see another hip hop artist elevated, matched in a lot of ways with Lehigh. Again, like another collaboration where it just works so well together. It's just so seamless. Cami, what are your thoughts on this song and really cool music video?
Oh, dude, I love it. So this is my favorite song from this album, and same thing with the music video. I echo everything you said. It's very reminiscent of my childhood, and like I grew up in like that was like 2000s was like my middle school, high school era, and that's like I had a Razor phone in that time as well. So I really love that. The kind of colors of it feel really like kind of cool, but also a sense of like uh, familiarity. Um, and yeah, this it really reminded me of the show called Pen 15 on Hulu. I've only seen I know there's two seasons, but I've only seen the first one. But it's like it's kind of the same concept where it's about like two teenagers in the 2000s in like a middle school or something, and the two main characters are played by adults, like they're full on adults, and they're best friends. But the whole surrounding cast is like young kids, like actual middle school age kids, and so it's kind of like this funny dynamic of them kind of they're adults but they're playing kids and they're surrounded by all these actual kids, and it's one of those cool things that it really reminded me of this video because it's funny because Lehigh and then the feature Wonstein, they're both kind of really small in terms of stature, so they can easily pass as like a younger kid, but you can still tell they're kind of different from all the other children in the video, and it just makes it even kind of funnier with the context of the song. But yeah, I love this song. This is my favorite song on the album. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. I love Wonstein. It's produced by PJ, who is another legendary hip hop kind of producer. I believe I don't know if he's still with YG. I believe he used to be with YG, so there's another YG connection there. But he's worked in a lot with Benzino in the past and Zion T. And he's really good at those kind of mellowed out kind of soulful jazzy samples and stuff like that. So this is definitely in like this whole song is just kind of perfectly in my bag of sound and vibe, and like Wonstein's a perfect feature on there as well. He's kind of been on a really hot feature run since his really big performance on Show Me the Money last year. He was one of the top 4 finalists, I believe. But he made it pretty far, but his music and style definitely kind of fits his tone, and I think it's a perfect kind of them bouncing off each other. But yeah, I love this song so much.
Kids, if you don't know the show Pen 15, or if you don't know what Pen 15 means, write it on a piece of paper and then look at it for 5 minutes.
Right.
I love everything you said about the comparison between the song and the music video and that show. The sense of mischief and kind of like messing around, being young and trying to get away with things, but then also kind of doing things with a lot of love and finding romance. Shout out to Wonstein and kind of you educating me in this, because I am very surface level. I'm very like, if it's K-pop adjacent, I kind of know about it. So yes, I didn't watch Show Me the Money last year. I did hear things here and there, but because now that you mentioned it, and also that he's been featured on a number of tracks, definitely an artist I will be looking into, especially after the song and music video, because he does carry that very cool vibe that you mentioned, and yeah, I do think this song is a really nice encapsulation of a different period in life, but kind of like cooling down, easing off of certain things. Oh man, yeah, no, I don't think I have anything else to say about this song. I think you captured everything, man. Before we move on to the latter half of the songs, we've gotten a lot of different themes throughout this album, and I do feel like it's all playing into a nice story. You know, very much encapsulated by Red Lipstick, the old and the new. This music video, I think, plays into that more so, if not, you know, amazingly so, because I think nostalgia and playing into your formative years and growing up is so embedded and ingrained in who we are as people. So kind of seeing that reflected in this romanticized way is fun. I think it's fun in a different kind of way. And yeah, no, I think it's great. I think you killed it, Kami. All right. Any closing thoughts on this song before I move on?
No, I think I've said as much as I've thought.
For sure, man. All right. Track number 7. We've got Safety Zone. Lyrics by Lehigh, music by Lehigh and Code Kunst, arrangement by Code Kunst, the man, her friend, her buddy, the guy that, you know, was trying to convince her to sign last year through all her vlogs. You know, the first entry for him on this album. You know, it well, to me, the theming for this song is about learning about the person you want to be in love with, right? I think the progression is introspection, reflection, you know, thinking about life, and then saying, this love ain't for me, I'm out, and then partying in the middle, and then starting again with the Wonstein feature. And then we got Safety Zone, learning about what you actually need as a person to find love and kind of build trust. All done with the backdrop of like smooth R&B, smooth hip hop with great R&B melodic angelic vocals. Kami, what did you think about this song, and what was it about Code Kunst that, you know, really shined for you?
So earlier when I said like with Bye, that was one of my top 3 songs on this album. That's Bye, and then Head Shoulders, Knees and Toes, and this song Safety Zone. So this is like I'd say in that top 3, and I just love because, like you said, with her work with Code Kunst, there's another YG element. Code Kunst used to be in the High Ground, Tableau's old label. That was a sub label of YG that was only around for a few, like 3 years, until he stepped down. So I think when that label folded, that's when he moved over to AOMG, and he is also part of a pretty prominent hip hop crew called Legit Goons. So he's one of those producers, and they all kind of have the same style. Some other notable artists from there are Basagong, and J-Ho, who released one of the top kind of critically acclaimed albums of this year, hip hop albums. So they're kind of, if you're outside of the hip hop, Korean hip hop scene, I don't think anyone would know Legit Goons, but they actually are a pretty big deal, and he's one of the producers from that crew. And yeah, just his work with Lehigh, I don't know, there's something with them where they perfectly kind of bounce off each other, right? And I think I want to say it started, the first time they collaborated was on his first album, Muggles Mansion, that was on High Ground. And that was a song, I think it was X. That's what they did, or I can't remember if it was that one. But they do have other songs, like they have like a whole series like of the songs called X, and then they have XI and then XII, and then in this last album last year, People, Code Kunst had another collaboration. They kind of closed its songs called O, so it's like X's and O's, and I'm not sure the too familiar, but I remember seeing an interview where they were talking about how all those songs are connected in terms of like same thing with this album, like kind of like the ups and downs of a love relationship. But yeah, O on Code Kunst's last album was one of my favorite songs of that year, and just the kind of creative product that comes out of those two collaborating. I don't know what it is, but they definitely find, it's like they have they find muse in each other, and it works really well because Code Kunst seems to know exactly what type of beats and sound will kind of fit Lehi's style and lyric writing ability, and I just love it. So this is like one of those other songs. There's another Cocoon song on this album, Cocoon song produced album. Sorry, Cocoon song produced on this album. But I would definitely like this one more because it's a little bit more vibey, a little more R&B, like you said, hip hop ish. But yeah, I definitely love those two together. I would, now that they're both on AOMG, and like you said, that he played a really big part of her coming to AOMG, and I believe she was saying that like she knew it was the right choice because he wasn't telling her like you need to come to AMG, like that's what you need to do. It was more like, hey, I'm really happy like with what AMG does for me. It's a great label. I can kind of have my creative freedom and do whatever I want. They foster that. So I'm really like happy here, and I think you should come here as well. And so I think that really kind of played a big factor into her joining AOMG. And so now that they're both on that label, man, I can't wait to hear more collaborations. Like I would listen to a full like double LP of just their songs together, like just them, no features. I don't care, but I really love them working together. I think they work really well together.
You said a lot of amazing things. Yes, to all of it. If you go back and listen to old Cocoons and Lehi, I think it's XI, like you said, XI and O. Those songs tell a story, even if you don't understand the lyrics and you don't understand it initially, but musically, there's something that carries between all those songs, a moodiness that isn't heavy, that isn't, doesn't bring you down. It's not like a depressing moodiness, but there's just something about it where it's just like, it just makes you, it puts you in a state where you're seeing a nice blend of two different people's stylistic choices, all in combination with smoother, chiller hip hop and R&B, but kind of just done. For lack of a better way to put it, kind of done amazingly. Safety Zone captures that 100%, like you said, and it's just really cool to hear that Lehi decided on AOMG, not because she was told by everyone around her to join them because of all the wealth and fame that she can get and receive. It's because of the creative freedom that she so long wanted, and to express herself and to really be in part of the process of making her own music. Again, not to say that like her past experiences were the worst thing ever. She has said a lot of times in interviews over the past 2 years, she has learned a lot about being in that system that she is now using for this album, for this release, with all her collaborations, with all the people that she's working with. And I think that in and of itself is very valuable. But now you get to see two people at what I think are the height of their powers. I think they're at the peak. And it's really cool that you have this as a top 3 song because it is so mellow. It's just like this is a different one, right? And yeah, I think we said a lot about this song already. There's really, this is the part of the album where it does start to mellow out a little bit. I still think within the vibe section, kind of moving into the second song. I think it's the second song he did. So let's move on out to track number 8 with What Is Love. So we got Lehi on lyrics, music by Lehi and Codekunst, and arrangement by Codekunst. All right, so this is the second installment of Codekunst on the album. As far as the theming and story, about insecurities, questioning what you have, what you want, wanting to make it work. Again, kind of the cyclical nature of what love and romance is, right? Where, you can feel the most empowered in the world, finding your own independence, but it's okay to want to be with someone. But also wanting to be with someone is very hard and complicated, and there's a lot of challenges, not just like for, not just for getting to know that person, but getting to know what you want and need as a person. Kami, so this is the second track with Cocoons on it. How do you feel like it plays from track number 7 into this song, and kind of the styling choices that make the songs different?
So with this one, I really like this one as well. To me, I just love Safety Zone so much that I listen to that way more. But obviously, it's a great kind of transition to from that song to this one. And like I said again, it's just Code Kunst and Lehigh, and they're them doing their thing, and I think that's another beauty um, that comes from them working together, and like you alluding to the theme of the song is like what is love, and her kind of parsing that out. I think that's a great way for her. Code Kunst probably provides a kind of like a safe space for her to get really vulnerable and kind of write her own lyrics, and she can do great vocally on top of a pop song, or you know a pop soul swing song or whatever, and it sounds great, and someone else wrote the lyrics and the music and all that. But that's the one thing I think with these two tracks is that I really like that she's able to kind of get a bit more introspective and serious, and he kind of brings that out of her, and she kind of brings out that kind of sound from him. So once again, it's just another testament. I prefer Safety Zone a lot more, but it's just another testament to the power of their, like you said, they're at the height of their powers on here, working together, and it's just another great Lehigh Cocoons track.
Absolutely. Yeah, they play really well together. No different vibes, but I think still very much playing into the idea of safety and kind of looping in earlier from Savior, even kind of the idea of supporting someone, bringing that umbrella out to them when they need it, whenever they need it in life. So yeah, no, a lot of beautiful things you said about Code Kuntz allowing that type of expression to come out of Lehigh. So yeah, man, we're getting in our feels here. That's just what this album does to us. All right, moving on now to the ballad section of the album. This is where she's kind of belting. She's letting out a lot of emotions and feelings here. Track number 9, we have "Darling," lyrics by Lehigh, music by Lehigh and Bronze, an arrangement by Bronze. I'm gonna set it up a little bit for you, but I really want you to dig into this song a little bit. So it's a bit dramatic. It's got a little bit of the gospel, like church pianos, but it's about cherishing love, right? And she's getting really emotional in the song. How did it all hit you, Kami?
Well, once again, like I said, since I'm such a huge fan of Bronze, yeah, just hearing this was like another jarring experience like the other one, because I was like, I've never heard him make a song like this before. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of like, yeah, like a like a soul gospel kind of ballad, and it's really cool. It's not my favorite because I'm very much not into it. I love listening to ballads for the kind of the technical quality in terms of like singing and all that stuff, but as far as like what I'm into listening to on a daily basis, it's more of like the R&B chill vibe. So, but I really like this song because yeah, it's another thing where Bronze is getting out of his kind of comfort zone, or it's allowing him to do a little bit something different. And I think this is very much in the lane of what Lehigh has normally done. So I think it kind of fits into that theme with kind of the album starting with sounds that are very familiar from what we've heard in the past from Lehigh, and then obviously kind of going into that kind of experimental, more kind of slowed down and partied up songs in the middle, and then kind of now going back to more familiarity with like Code Kunst tracks, and then obviously this kind of this song and the last song as well. Very much kind of like I feel like in her traditional, what she's popularly known for is that kind of yeah, belting ballad type song. So yeah, man, to be honest with you, I didn't really think too much about the track positioning in terms of just sound, but it makes so much more sense now. Like, okay, like starting off familiar, get into kind of unknown territory or experimental territory, and then finding that safety zone, and then kind of coming back to that comfortable, familiar feeling as well in terms of like love and all that stuff. So it's that's a really cool thing that I think this song kind of it's a great um, penultimate track to the album.
Yeah, there's a cyclical nature to the storytelling of this album, right? I think what we learned about Lehigh over the past few years of her, separating from YG and really being reflective as a person, even going back to Holo last year, is that she takes in all of her experiences and really understands what she needs as a person. And whether that's expressing it specifically to one person as a darling, as someone that you love, or challenging the people that she knows around her. Like you said, I think this is in her bag as far as vocals, but because it's Bronze, you're kind of taken aback with the fact that this is not his sound, this is not his style and genre. I'm going to ask you kind of an artistic question. With you being a music producer and playing around with things, what's it like kind of going out of your comfort zone this much from what you know about Bronze, right? Because like you mentioned, Bronze is typically known for city pop, but now with these two songs being fairly different, even within the album, let's talk on Darling a little bit. So how do you feel like this song is such a challenge for him as an artist? I guess from your point of view, from making music.
Well, I think especially sometimes creatively, it's very easy to get in a kind of zone, like a comfort zone, and like speaking specifically with Bronze, he put out two full-length city pop albums in 2019, 2020, and he's always kind of done the 80s retro sound and stuff like that. So to see him kind of venture out like this, I could only imagine it's refreshing, really refreshing, and kind of how could you say, kind of like a new jolt of inspiration for him. I know that's how I feel, like especially with like making mixes and stuff like that. I can get into a like comfort zone that's easy, and it's like, okay, this is what I do, blah blah blah, put it together. Sounds like normally, like at a certain point, it kind of becomes easy and almost a little boring. So at that point, it's kind of refreshing as a creative to just kind of do something completely out of your comfort zone and try something new. It kind of reinvigorates those creative juices and gets those flowing again, and kind of it just only makes you a better artist, I think. So I think that's what Bronze is definitely doing here for him, because to see him go out of like his range a little bit more with this, I could only imagine it's like, oh, okay, cool, like I'm kind of tired of, I don't want to do another city pop song. And then with his new EP he just released too, that's all like 2000s kind of, okay, let me get out of the 80s and 90s kind of classic retro sound, and let's get into the 2000s and kind of reminisce about that time period. And this song as well, I think that's him kind of like, oh, like let me do something different and kind of get something to get excited about again. Kind of just, instead of just going with the flow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, all of what you said is a brilliant insight into creativity, right? Where, we get stuck in our ways. We do something that's maybe a little bit too routine, too like easy, like you mentioned. But just with the brief pieces of information I'm able to put together about Bronze, it does feel like this project, these two songs, Darling, kind of being this very different dramatic song, is breathing new life into his process. We're hopefully gonna see that in the near future. But yeah, no, I just think, with everything that we've gone through with this album, and like you said, with Lehigh trying different things, I think it stands. How's the phrasing go? I think it's worth celebrating that a lot of the artists and musicians and producers that she's working with are also being challenged and pushed in different directions. which is a beautiful thing, right? There's a what's the word? There's a synergy, synthesis, one of those things
Yeah,
where they're like
yeah.
working back and forth with each other, and yeah, it's all culminating in such beautiful music. So yeah, no, thanks for that insight, KME. I do appreciate always hearing like how you think about music and what that does for you trying different things. All right, we've made it, everyone. Track number 10. This is actually the first pre-release music video released back in August. The title is Only, lyrics by Anshine, music by Anshine, arrangement by Filter, starring in the music video Lee Jae-hoon and Won Jin Ah. You know, with this song and seeing everything as a complete package now, you know, it does feel like we're starting from the beginning. You know, where, you know, well, let me phrase that again. It was released first, but we're starting at the end with it being the last song. So, you know, very much playing into the cyclical nature of, you know, what life is, how you can go in and out of the ups and downs of different learning experiences. With the music video itself, it's very emotional. You know, it tells a story about love over time, you know, falling in love through a dance with someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, unconditional love. But also, life is imperfect. There's going to be struggles. A lot of the sets take place at different points in their life. A lot of emphasis on hospital settings, which is, you know, a heavy, weighty touch point for a lot of people. Kind of used brilliantly in this music video. Ultimately ending with them as older people and still being together. Yeah, a lot of weighty emotions here. Let me go to you, Kami. What did you think about, you know, the music video when it came out, and this song being the last song on the album?
Yeah, I think I'd echo the same thing as kind of like the what I was saying before with uh, like you said, the cyclical nature of the song and the overall themes. I think that's a really cool thing that I didn't really realize until we started discussing it more. Um, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you're starting with you're ending with the song you put out first. It's kind of like this, uh, just yeah, it's endless cycle. And with the music video itself, man, it's like you said, it's a really heart wrenching um, type of music video, and man, it kind of hits close to home. And just watching it, it's hard. I haven't watched it very many times, maybe like once or twice, just because it's so like by the end of it, you're like, oh, like that hospital scene, and you see them as older, but then she looks up and like he's young again. So like it's like even though they're old, the love is still kind of youthful and new, and that's just it just makes me think about my relationship with my girlfriend, and just it's really personal, so it's kind of hard to watch. Like just it gets me really welled up when I watched it. So I really like that, and there's just and it's like, okay, you got to give us this music video, and then Lee High singing on top of it, like it's just a tidal wave of feels. I think when I watch that song.
Yeah. You know, with the composition of the song, it just kind of feel like an emotional ballad, things that she's been doing in the past. Definitely evokes memories of Holo from last year. Definitely evokes memories of Breathe, especially that song. Yeah, I think this is kind of a really, you know, nice way to end the story of this album, right? Where, you know, as we go through life, you know, we go through different ups and downs, different waves of emotions and feelings and experiences. You know, from the musical standpoint, I don't think there's very much for me to say about it, just because I think it's just well composed in a number of ways that yeah, I feel like we've mentioned a number of times here. Yeah, that's all I got as far as story. I'm there for the story for this, but it is weighty. It is hard to kind of go through a number of times. You know, I actually had to watch, well, not had to, but wanted to, and did watch the music video a number of times, maybe like 10 times or so. Whew, man, it gets you every time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
to kind of close things out on this song, and the album as a whole, Cammy, how did this song play for you as far as technical, the technical side of the composition, and then this being the button that you end the album on?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect end cap to the album because it's so, um, with just like the pianos and on Lehi's, you know, belting voice and all that stuff. It's a really nice kind of. I think like we were talking about with the first track, it brings back a certain familiarity and kind of what we kind of know from Lehigh, and it's really cool to see her on this album kind of go through this journey. And I don't know if maybe it reflects a lot of her career because her career has kind of been up until this point. It's been a weird one. Um, and I was thinking this the other day. I was like, man, it feels like I've known Lehigh since I've been into K-pop and Korean music since what 2014, and I know she debuted a few years before that. But it's just like I don't know with what YG wasn't able to do with her, or just the kind of output she's had since then. It doesn't match how long she's been in the game, and so I think this is a really cool kind of album, and especially with this last track, like kind of her she tried some different things and kind of is showing us a little bit more of herself. But with this final last one, it's like, okay, look, this is what I do. Like this is my jam, and I think that's a really great thing, and it only makes me more excited for um, the future of her career because I think she doesn't have those limitations of a big label like YG to kind of, I remember hearing in another interview I was watching last night in preparation for this that she was saying like I got like a hard drive full of unreleased tracks that are just ready to go. So I'm pretty sure she's kind of just creatively kind of ready to show out. So I'm really excited with this kind of being the end cap to her album because I'm thinking maybe it's okay. We went through the cycle of starting familiar, getting a little bit out of her comfort zone, and doing some different stuff, and then kind of slowly going back, and then kind of really reminding us like why she is such an amazing artist and singer. And I think hopefully going forward, one thing I would like maybe going forward in the next release or album is her kind of doing something completely different, or something like maybe you were alluding to her rap abilities. Like I would love to see her kind of do like at least maybe just a feature on someone's album. I'm sure on another AOMG artist album. Um, like I've heard that Code Kunst and AOMG artist Wu, they're working on a collaboration album as well. So I'd love to hear her on there and maybe just spit a couple bars or something like that. So I'd love to see her kind of continue to grow and try new things and do other stuff with this kind of newly found creative freedom that she has with the AOMG.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Cammy. I think it's been a tumultuous, history. Objectively, we can say that she started off really strong. There was a lot of times of uncertainty, a lot of gaps in between releases. All with the question of why don't we have more? We see the potential. We see, what she's able to do when she is given music, and now we're kind of seeing her flourish and be brilliant in a number of ways that are partly expected, but honestly, so many surprises. Like you said, going out of your comfort zone, going out of her comfort zone, with a lot of styling choices, with the way that she composed tracks, even pushing her friends, her artists, her collaborators in different directions that surprised you and me. So, man, it's just I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the journey. I'm loving everything we're getting out of it. It does kind of feel like an end with Only because it is such a somber song and music video. But again, I think it's more of a reflection of the the expanse of what life can be if you kind of find your way and tell the story that you want to tell. So, man, Kami, this was honestly probably one of my favorite things I've ever done, and I really appreciate that you came on to do this with me because, I think it's no secret that Lehigh is probably my favorite artist. I know it's a big thing to say. I know I have the reputation of being the simp for everyone, but musically, how it moves me, what I attach to, what I connect with, it all stems from kind of what foundationally she is as an artist and as a person. So, I'm lost for words. Thank you so much, Kami, for just being here and doing this deep dive with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. This was really fun. Like, I'm glad we were able to bounce each other's kind of strengths. Like, you're so good at talking about the kind of overall themes and getting in depth with the lyrics and all that stuff, and I can maybe addendum that with like a little accompany that. I mean, with like a little bit of the music and knowledge of the artist involved in the back end. But yeah, man, this is really fun. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, man, you got to find like these deep dive, like emotional hitting albums, or even like really messy, degenerate trap music, and hopefully Warren will come on.
I'm down.
You hear that, Warren? You're invited anytime we do these deep dives. All right, man, I'm just like emotionally just like, man, I'm just gonna chill for the rest of the day. Kami, let us know where we can find you. You have a SoundCloud.
Yeah, generally KMUSICEVERYDAY at KMUSICEVERYDAY for everything. Instagram, Twitter, I'm most active on. I do have the SoundCloud where I do my mixes. It's soundcloud.com/KMUSICEveryday, or you can just go to KMUSICEveryday.com. I have a website. It's kind of bare. It's just kind of serves as a central hub for links to all those social media profiles. So if you can't remember that, just KMUSICEveryday.com. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I'd love to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, man, I will 100% have you on for just like anything that I find. So yeah, no, we killed it. We did great. All right, let's sign out of here. Thank you everyone for listening to the Soju Sessions on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or your preferred podcast platform, and continue the conversation on the Soju Talk K-pop podcast Discord, and follow K-Music Every Day everywhere on all social media platforms, on SoundCloud. Find his stuff. He's amazing. He's great. I'm Crispy, and this has been the Soju Sessions.